Hey guys and welcome back. Today I'm going to be filming my August wrap up, except I'm not, because I realised that I did an August mid-month wrap up, and August, September, yes, August. I did a mid-month wrap up for August, and that feels like a long time ago, and I think it's because I filmed it like 4 days before it was the middle of August, but all that aside, because it's been so long since I filmed that video, I've completely lost my mind, and I thought I had only read 2 books since I filmed that, and the 2 books that I thought I had read I'd already done reading vlogs for, but I will come to that because I'm going to talk about this book, and this is the final book in a trilogy, which is called The Themis Files, and this is Only Human by Sylvain Neuvel. I gave this book 1 out of 5 stars, oh my god. So The Themis Files as a trilogy, you know, book 1 was amazing, book 2, this, no, wouldn't recommend. Just get to end of book 2 and you can read it as if that's where the series ended, really. And essentially what this trilogy was doing was building us up from the find of a sort of, I have to describe it as stainless steel hand, but it's not stainless steel, it's a different type of metal hand, in the US, and they start finding loads of different pieces of what is essentially a huge ass robot across the world, and they build this robot, and that's the majority of the first book, and the second book is more about I guess how they're using this robot, and then like sort of more robots start appearing. None of this is spoilers because this is all detailed on the back of the books, on the back of these books. And then this third book happens like I guess 10 years after the end of the second book, and there's not really much I can say about this book without it being a spoiler, but it's just really annoying because what it does is lead you somewhere where you think you might get some really interesting insight about, I guess, another form of life, but you don't really get that. What you end up with in this book is a father and a daughter fighting, and again, without giving away what happens in the second book, one of our characters, Vincent, is the father of a daughter. Yes, I'm sure that's how these things generally work. And him and his daughter are basically fighting because she's really upset that, I can't even say it without ruining the book, there's an issue and she's really upset about it. And what you get is 378 pages, I know this because I noted it down in my notes, of these two bickering while they're in a robot and they're fighting each other. And it's just ridiculous because throughout the story it hasn't been about them, and all of a sudden it's just centered on these 2 characters, and I was just like, this is so boring. Like, I'm shocked that this was what was the end result that was produced, but this is what he thought would be a good end to the series, and this is what an editor thought would resonate with the readers who had read it, and obviously really built strong bonds with what was happening, because it's not like these 2 characters don't matter, it's just like they don't matter that much. But honestly, this book is about those 2 fighting. It says here, actually, well, I can say what happens. It says here, so 10 years ago, alien robots came to Earth, killing 100 million people. Their aim to destroy the vestige of their race hiding on Earth. They left, taking the robot Themis and her crew, the human race's only defense. So yeah, from the back of the book, you do know that they have taken the crew that was in the robot, and that crew was Dr. Rose, Vincent and his daughter, and a sort of, I can't remember what he is, like a sergeant. He's some old man, but he's in like the army or something. So on the back it also says, now Themis is back. Dr. Rose Franklin and her team have escaped and returned to Earth, but they find a broken and divided world where those suspected of being aliens are rounded up and interred. Is there a future? As the human race looks set to destroy itself, Rose and her comrades must find a way to unite Earth. That isn't what happens for the majority of the book. What happens for the majority of the book is those 2 fighting, and it's so frustrating because the story isn't about them. It's so annoying. Everything that could have happened with this book as its final, you know, its ending, didn't. You know, the Earth that they come back to, we don't get to find out more about that other than the fact that they're at war. They come back into like Russia or somewhere, and there's a Russian intelligence lady who is Saki, who you just don't even believe is an actual character. You don't know if she's mad or like, you don't know what's going on basically, because there is no wider context for anything. It's just, oh, everyone's at war. Okay, great. Everyone's at war, Rose is lost of what to do with herself, and then father and daughter, you know, eventually patch things up in the end, and everyone starts a new life because, you know, they've, you know, formed some sort of treaty with the robots. Bloody boring, honestly, not worth anyone's time. I was just like, I'm done with reading trilogies that seem to get to like the second book and think, oh no. I know writing is so hard, like I could never even begin to like write one book, let alone something that is a trilogy, but I feel like a lot of authors must get to a point where they've written a first book and it's really, really good, and they just don't know how to carry on that story or execute that idea. But wouldn't recommend, don't read this. If you want to read this, read the first 2 books. You can read the second books as sort of a closed ending of what happens, because this is unnecessary and doesn't add anything. So then the other books that I'm going to talk about is The Fisherman and Purple Hibiscus. Now, I don't want to talk about them in great detail because I have done reading vlogs on them, so you should watch them. If you haven't watched them, why haven't you watched them? Unless you're planning on reading books, then I wouldn't watch them because they are very in-depth and spoilery. This one isn't too spoilery. This video is spoilery. But The Fisherman is about 4 young boys who decide to sort of take up the trade of fishing near their hometown when their dad sort of moves away for work, and through going down to this place to fish, they meet, I guess, the local madman who prophesies that the older brother will be killed by one of his own brothers. And that basically sets the tone for the rest of the book. Even though you find this out on the back of the book, it's not like that's the book doesn't open like that. The book opens before that, they have the prophecy, and then it's sort of what happens after that. This book was so heart-wrenching for me, like it really, really pulled on my heartstrings. I was just blown away by it. I was blown away by the sort of breakdown in the family through this prophecy. I could really believe that, you know, for a boy as young as, I think he was 14, to hear that one of his brothers might kill him, how, you know, that sort of sets him apart from his family and he starts behaving oddly. And then, you know, by default, this prophecy becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because, you know, he's alienating his brothers, but, you know, also trying to provoke them. And, you know, boys together, like not even just boys together, people together, when you're constantly being provoked, like physically being provoked, things happen, and then, you know, these things happen. And it's just sort of, you know, how this sort of prophecy transpires and breaks down this family. You feel particularly sorry for the mum because you're just like, what is happening? Aside from the 4 boys in the family, there's also 2 kids who are very, very young, and later you can see sort of why they were never really heavily mentioned, but also why as characters they existed in the book. But if you want to find out more sort of what the plot is about this book, I would definitely encourage you to watch my reading vlog. I'll link it up here and I'll also put it in the description box below. But this book I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I want to give it 5, but I feel like it made me so sad that I'm like, I can't give it 5, but I really thoroughly enjoyed this book. This book, Purple Hibiscus, is one I also went into, I did a reading vlog for and went full on like spoilery mode. So if you've read the book or if you don't have any plans of reading the book, I would encourage you again to watch that video, and I will link it above and down below. But this book follows our narrator Kimbili, who is 15 years old, and she is telling us the story of her life, like basically living with a very religious, abusive father, and sort of what transpires, I guess. I'm not even sure if it's like through the summer for her, but what transpires in her life when she goes to visit her aunt, stays with her aunt, like her aunt comes over and is just like, these kids need to like get out of this like fucking psycho house that you're making them live in, and just sort of how her life changes from then on. It's a really hard book to sort of encapsulate what happens, because the book says, you know, the limits of her world are defined by her family estate and the dictates of her fanatically religious father. When Nigeria is shaken by a military coup, Kimbili's father sends her to live with her aunt, and there she discovers life and love. And then it also comes on to say, and a terrible bruising secret deep within her family. That bit I don't think is what she discovers. She is already very well aware of the secret in her family, but it's more as we as the reader discover the secret in her family. I thought this book was really well crafted. It was crafted in a way that, you know, things that were very violent, very abusive, was spoken about in such subtle ways that sometimes I just had to double take and like read it again to ensure that I was getting like what I thought was happening was actually happening. But I think it's crafted in such a beautiful way, and you can really tell you're reading it from, you're getting the perspective of someone who's young and someone who's naive and isn't fully aware of what things mean or what is actually going on. But yes, it's definitely a story in which Kambili grows and learns and just, you know, is able to come out of herself and sort of enjoy life a little bit more, enjoy what life was made for. So this was a book, again, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. So that is actually it for my August wrap up. The reason I ended up reading these 2 books was because I participated in the August in Africa readathon. So I was reading these 2 because obviously I had them on my shelves, but also because they fit that, and it fits my goals of reading more books by African authors or about Africa, and in this case it fits both. But yeah, I was thinking of making this video a little bit longer and talking about the books that I read in July, because I never got around to filming that video, but I'm not going to do that. I'll probably film that video, July video, another time, who knows. But thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to discuss any of the books that I spoke about, please just leave me comments down below, and also, yeah, go and watch the reading vlogs because I will link them here. Thanks for watching, bye.